The holiday Hoover involves someone coming back from the past under the guise of the holidays, knowing that you are more likely to be vulnerable to the Hoover. But they haven't changed. It's not like that holiday movie. And you will be back to your usual toxic cycle before you can say boo. Would you like a side of shame with your Thanksgiving dinner? Let's break this one down. I'd love to hear how many of you have to spend Thanksgiving with a narcissistic person this year. Drop that one in the comments. The fact is, though, the holiday season, not just Thanksgiving, but the holidays in general, are like tax season for therapists, and especially for those of us who focus on narcissistic relationships. In the United States, where I'm based, we're obviously in Thanksgiving this week, which sort of becomes the gateway into the holiday season and the pain that can unfold in a narcissistic family system or relationship during those holidays. Listen, I talk about the holidays every year, but I do not know a single survivor of of any kind of narcissistic relationship or antagonistic relationship who hasn't laid out that it was these relationships, these toxic relationships, that make this a fraught and painful time. Now, what are the ways? Let's talk about some of the ways that narcissistic folks hijack the holidays. And if you've got things I don't say, drop them in the comments too. How do they hijack it? Well, they use the holidays as a place to have power struggles. We must spend the holidays the way I say, and with whom I say, doing what I say, with absolutely no regard for how other people are being impacted by this. Or they hold court at the holiday table or whatever festivities there are, and using it as a time to toss passive-aggressive barbs or overly aggressive or overtly aggressive barbs at everyone. They may keep everyone on edge because everyone is waiting for the first mistake of the day that will send the toxic person spinning. What do you mean we don't have whole cranberries? How could you forget to use the correct centerpiece? How could you have not put my pie in the center of the table? And then the rest of the day is spent by everyone appeasing this person. Or they may say politically or other culturally inappropriate or other inflammatory things at the table or whatever other festivities you're doing. And those things that they say end up making everyone feel uncomfortable. And then, if anyone does react, will gaslight the people for reacting or get mad at other people for not taking the bait. The other thing they may do is triangulating, sitting back and enjoying the chaos that ensues. Or you can expect that they'll make invalidating comments about people's weight, how their kids are doing, their jobs, why aren't they married, why are they divorced, and these comments leave everyone deflated. Or they may criticize your gift or sneer at it or feel let down by it because it's not big enough or you didn't spend enough money. Or they'll talk about money and how much they spent, how much they have, how much you owe them, how much more they should have, and just basically making everyone feel uncomfortable. Like I said, I'm sure you have other things that happen at your annual holiday dinners. Drop them to the list, in the comments, I should say. What are the lovely things that the narcissistic folks in your lives have done to make this so-called festive season anything but? But here's the thing, folks, it goes deeper. I see it. I see it in my clients. Hell, I see it in myself every year. I got to tell you, I heard a Christmas song the other day while I was in a grocery store running a quick errand. My body reacted. I felt some tension in my chest, that kind of constricted feeling in my throat. I actually want to like the holidays. I love all the lights and the decorations. I love the smells. But the rest of it has actually kind of always been a problem. And I work on it every year. I practice self-compassion, and I work with survivors on this holiday stuff annually. I know that it goes beyond just this one day today, Thanksgiving or whatever the holiday is. Most of us can tolerate one bad day. We can choke down the meal, disengage, gray rock, yellow rock, fake it, not take the bait, whatever we need to do to get through the day. But there is something bigger that happens. It's not just the day. Social media makes all of this a lot worse. But the sense of shame that many survivors experience gets magnified. The sort of reminder that our families don't work right, are quite dysfunctional, have hurt us. And as children, that shame was definitely viscerally felt, and we did our best to justify it. In narcissistic relationships, it's the same. We try to justify it, try to dress it up with a bow, make it look good, make it work, even when it's hurting us at the same time. Now, all of those families out there in their matching pajamas and gushing posts, I love family time at the holidays. It may all be a facade, and it often is, but even if some of it is true, it can put those who are already carrying the burden of narcissistic abuse in their families and in their relationships and heap more shame and discomfort on top of it. The performative nature of the holidays makes all of this feel like work. So I'm hoping that instead of a side of shame with your dinner, you may be able to have some self-compassion as an entree. You aren't responsible for other people's bad behavior. The fact is that anyone comes out of these narcissistic, antagonistic relationships with empathy and compassion basically speaks to your gorgeousness as a person. You aren't defined by what you came from or what you are in. And my suspicion is that those matching pajama people may be trying to cover up their pain in their own way. Well, if you're in the United States, it's Thanksgiving. So this one's just a happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the United States in this most unusual of holiday years, and to everyone around the world. In case you didn't know, it's Thanksgiving in the United States, which is a very complicated holiday, especially when you're talking about it from a perspective of narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And that's the stance I'm going to take. I know it's a strange holiday. I'm not really celebrating it. I'm showing one person, my child, and we're not going to do the whole hoopla of cooking just to stay safe in our world. So I know a lot of folks are struggling. I can't see other family members for the reason many others cannot because of COVID. So, but that may not necessarily be a bad thing if you don't want to see some of your family members. But what Thanksgiving is in the United States is it's supposed to be this, I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be about gratitude and the kickoff to the holiday season. Holidays are complicated, very complicated for people who are currently in narcissistically abusive relationships from narcissistically problematic families. This is not an easy time of year. So a couple things I want to say about Thanksgiving. What really ramps up at this time is a lot of emotions that happen to people who are in these kinds of difficult relationships. Foremost around those is a real kind of focus on a sense of toxic positivity. Well, now starts the holiday season. Everything is great. And let's just be great. And let's just forgive. And there's a lot of push for forgiveness on Thanksgiving. Remember what I always tell you. Forgiveness is a very, very personal decision. And sometimes, in many people in narcissistically abusive relationships, you never get there. There's only so much gaslighting you can really, truly let go of. And the fact is, we all know this, you forgive a narcissist, they don't view that as a gift. They view it as permission to keep doing what they're doing and now believing they'll be enabled to keep doing it anyhow because you're going to forgive them. The other issue that often also comes up is that, well, you got to be grateful. You got to be grateful. And I have to tell you one thing. A lot of people I know who've been through narcissistic abuse are among some of the most grateful people I know. In fact, they're able to find gratitude in the more simple things after having been through the ringer. But it can feel very, very manufactured at this time of year, especially if you're one of the people who still does have to get along with family members, and especially it could be difficult family members. Those of you in narcissistically abusive marriages may feel that you can't have your usual supports around you. Like, for example, you may not be bringing together extended family that has sometimes been supportive of you, and so you're sort of left in this much more lonely holiday. This is a complicated year around these holidays. So I would say, you don't need to feel anything. You feel you. And this is not done this one day. You don't all of a sudden have to snap to it and start coming up with all this gratitude when you still feel really confused, full of self-doubt, and generally invalidated by the life you're finding yourself in. Instead, let this be a kickoff, as all days should be for anyone going through narcissistic abuse, a kickoff into growth. Like I said, I know it's a complicated year. I happen to be a sucker for pecan pie, so I'm actually going to treat myself and probably just have that for dinner. So whatever way you celebrate this holiday in the United States, and for any Americans abroad who are trying to figure out ways of sort of celebrating this, make sure that you, as this and all holidays going forward, if nothing else, let this be a launch off into a more authentic space where you take care of you, and don't make it about forever trying to feed the beast that is a narcissistic family system or relationship. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm grateful to all of you for creating this community. We all have things to be grateful for, but don't force yourself to find them, okay? This is a tough time of year for anyone who's in a narcissistic relationship or has been in a narcissistic relationship. Why? Because of something called holiday hoovering. Before we get to that, as always, I'll hoover you into this channel, but I won't discard you. So please hit that subscribe button and join us. But let's then now go to holiday hoovering. It would be cool if in the comments any of you could share a story if you were ever hoovered during the holidays and might have fallen for it, or you didn't fall for it. But let's talk about holiday hoovering. You can tell by the title what it's going to be about. Now, I think we've established beyond a shadow of a doubt that I got a lot of holiday grumpiness. And my holiday grumpiness is well known, even in my own family. And I'm not going to make apologies for it anymore. I have to say, myself and many other therapists do witness the magnification of pain that can happen for clients who are in difficult marriages, who face strained family relationships, or even have any other kinds of difficult relationships, or are just dealing with other challenging stressors in their lives, such as a chronic illness or financial struggles. All of these things make the holidays very complicated. But narcissistic family and relationship dynamics turn the holidays into nothing short of a psychological minefield. One theme, though, that comes up every year when it comes to the holidays, especially when we talk about intimate relationships, is holiday hoovering. Now, as we all know, this year the holidays are quite different. Large gatherings are off. Getting together is really, not as permissible. And we're all sort of in our little pods. But that said, holiday hoovering is still a thing. I don't think, the distancing has changed anything. Now, holiday hoovering is when that narcissistic or whatever kind of difficult, toxic person in your life you have reaches out from the past. And they reach out in this period, starting around Thanksgiving and going all the way through New Year's, and uses the holiday or the holiday period as an entry point to touch base with you. Like, hey, was just sitting here on a lonely Thanksgiving or New Year's or Christmas Eve or whatever the holiday is, and you just popped into my head. How are you? I still think back to the amazing times we had together. Or they'll write something like, I was taking stock as the year ends and just wanted to reach out. What a year it's been. How are you? Now, texts like this or messages like this may seem innocuous if they come from a healthy friend that you may have fallen out of touch with. Now, it's not so innocuous if it comes from a past narcissistic personality in your life that you may have gray rocked or go in no contact with, or otherwise had to go through a nightmare of confusion to let go of. All of a sudden, that little check-in text seems a heck of a lot more sinister. And because the holiday period, really can pull us out of our routines. Many of us and many people aren't on usual schedules. Some people may have some time off from school or work or whatever. Some people may actually be working more than they usually do. But the rhythms of the world are different. We may eat more than usual, eat different kinds of foods more than we usually do, drink more than usual. And when something toxic from the past sort of penetrates, you may not have your usual coping routines and sort of coping touchstones and tools at easy reach, because again, you're kind of out of your rhythms. In the glow of the holiday, you may actually forget some of your boundaries. You might actually respond Your usual mantras that you should be living by: don't respond, stay gray rock. You may have lost or not have easy access to that long list of things I tell all of you to do, to write down every awful thing that was said or done in that relationship. As a reminder, don't write that on paper. You might want to keep that list in your phone so you always have it in easy access. So even if you're traveling, you've got it. So you may forget all that and you may respond. The holidays are full of euphoric recall. And this is an unusual year. Many, many people are more lonely than usual during the holiday season. So succumbing to a holiday hoover may be more risky than usual. Narcissists are masterful at bringing up old memories of a romantic holiday or a memorable New Year's. It's a tricky technique. They're playing on things like nostalgia and good feelings. Your resolve starts to weaken. And because you have been to this trauma-bonded rodeo before, you slide right back in. And again, the holidays sort of facilitate that. Then you might find that feelings of shame can often weaken your resolve to get back out of that hoovering, and the whole relationship cycle can begin again quite easily. Holidays can be very lonely for many people. The images on social media of people having a good time or getting engaged over the holidays or whatever holiday stuff they are up to. The idea of staying home and being alone can feel really difficult, and it becomes prime territory for a narcissist to step in and suck you back in. Remember, it's life for you. It's a game for them. And they may have gotten, for example, and this is not an uncommon narcissistic trick, they may have gotten a new phone number or use one of those apps to send you a message from another number. My sort of general guidance to people who have been through narcissistic abuse: don't answer calls from unknown numbers, blocked numbers, numbers you've never seen before. If the call is important, they will leave a message. And don't respond to texts from unknown numbers that could be them. It's easy to take that bait. Don't do it. Now think of how many silly holiday movies or holiday TV programs or songs are based on someone coming back from the past, changed, and it all works out well. It doesn't quite work that way. The holiday hoover involves someone coming back from the past under the guise of the holidays, knowing that you are more likely to be vulnerable to the hoover. But they haven't changed. It's not like that holiday movie. And you will be back to your usual toxic cycle before you can say boo. And we all know at the end of the holidays, returns are always a pain in the ass, whether it's stuff or people. Now, the holidays are a very tough time of year for survivors of narcissistic abuse. And while holiday hoovering largely refers to the impact of what happens within past intimate relationships, it can even happen in family settings. We think of it, those, again, your old boyfriend or girlfriend from the past, but it's different in a family. The sibling you finally set a boundary with keeps trying to test that boundary, for example, in the name of the holidays. The parent that you have distanced from attempts to hoover with that tried and true manipulation. And you know that manipulation in a narcissistic family? Well, next year one of us may be dead or sick or whatever their holiday hoover hook is that they try, and then you repeat the holiday again, and it's just as wretched as it was every year before. The holiday season is underway. And what does that mean? It's not just time to shop. It's time to get your resolve strengthened and tightened. Find new traditions. Don't get lost in the nostalgia. Get support. You likely spent a long time, probably the whole year, trying to set these boundaries. Don't let one holiday don't let one holiday song or pretty twinkly lights be what leads you to succumb to these Hoovers. I did another video on how the holidays keep people stuck in their existing narcissistic relationship. But the fact is, the holidays can also resurrect the ones you left, and that should probably remain out of your life, or at least pretty distanced. Now, don't fall for it. Holiday hoovering is a classic narcissistic relationship con. If you know it's coming, you may be better able to resist it. Preparation is the art of defense. Holiday hoovering doesn't always just happen at this time, or hoovering doesn't just happen, I should say, at this time of year. Hoovering is just more intense during the holidays, and thus the holiday hoovering. Listen, holiday hoovering-ish kinds of things can also happen on your birthday or any other kind of anniversary date or something like that. Be ready for these hoovers, chuckle about them, and don't respond. So let's talk a little bit about this holiday hygiene. And by hygiene, I don't mean brushing your teeth and washing your hands. One of the reasons that narcissists can do such a number on us during the holidays is how many of the cycles repeat over and over again, and things that seem like annoyances, and sometimes even big annoyances during the rest of the year, seem really awful during the holidays, especially if that feels sort of like a special time of year, or a time of year you're taking a break and would love just sort of a break, or something you actually believe in the magical spirit of the holidays, of people coming together with family and friends. One of the key gifts you can give to yourself during this holiday season is boundaries. Everybody's like, what does this mean? What are these boundaries you speak of? Boundaries are really about putting up fences, small or large, between you and other people in a way that you watch what you talk about, the vulnerabilities that you share, that how you conduct yourself with another person. Because what ends up happening is narcissistic people often violate boundaries, say inappropriate things, try to get into your business in a way that feels really violating at times, and you may not feel equipped to manage that. So one thing that gets tricky about the holidays is that that's often a time of year you're seeing people that you may not see at other times of the year. And it's easy in a year or 6 months or 8 months to forget about how to keep those boundaries. So when we think about that, how do we keep healthy boundaries during the holiday season and all the rest of the year? It's really to assess what feels comfortable and what doesn't feel comfortable. Some people, interestingly, often feel pulled to share about their lives with narcissistic people. Maybe they think that this time it's going to be different, that this person will hear it or appreciate it or not be rude. And there's that chronic disappointment that comes when year over year that same person says something inappropriate. Oh, you're still single, or you guys still don't buy a house, or you still didn't get out of that job. Year over year, it's like you just keep getting reminded, why did I fall into that trap again? Boundaries are often about preparation, getting ready for this interaction or interactions you're going to have with toxic or difficult or narcissistic family members. You know where your uncle's going to go. You know what your mother is going to bring up. You know how your partner may behave around family. Be prepared, because when you're prepared, you can keep those boundaries appropriate, and there's less of a chance that those difficult family members will get to you. But more than anything, and this is something I've reiterated throughout this series, keeping healthy holidays, holiday hygiene as it was with narcissistic family members, is all about having very, very realistic expectations. One of the real challenges is that people sometimes think this year is going to be different. Why, I don't know, but they do. And it's not. And when those expectations get dashed, what's already challenging can feel a little bit more devastating, and maybe even more devastating because it's the holidays and it's not supposed to be like this. Have those expectations. Somebody who's been a difficult person for 15 Christmases running, or 15 holiday periods running, or 15 Hanukkahs, or whatever running, there's no reason to think this year isn't going to be any different. Here's a little bit of a holiday hack for you. It's all about timers. Figure out a way, if you can, if you don't want to be rude and keep having a timer making noise, whether you have one of those iPhones or some other phone that has a timer, some other watch that has a timer mechanism on your actual phone, figure out a way to set a timer and set it to a buzzer so you can feel it in your pocket or on your wrist. Those timers can help you feel sane. Because if you're getting corralled into a difficult narcissistic interaction, set a timer and know that you've maybe done your time of 10 or 15 or 20 minutes of a difficult conversation. And then when the timer goes off, use it as an excuse to say, got to help my mom in the kitchen, got to run to the restroom, got to check on the kids, or I got to just go deal with something. It may not always be easy to make a graceful exit, but at least at that point, because you know sometimes with a difficult or narcissistic person, 1 minute can feel like 20, then you're sure, like you've put in the time, you've done the 20 minutes, and then you might be able to make a graceful exit, and at that point, you might have given this narcissistic person just enough supply to get them off your back and keep the rest of that particular holiday day a little bit more manageable. But there are always other distractors around, and those are things like the world outside. Any holiday, whether it's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or whatever holidays your family celebrates, take a walk. Build taking a walk into that day. I don't care how cold it is. No matter how cold it is, bundle up, but it's still going to be a lot warmer than dealing with that invalidating narcissist or other difficult person in your family. Take a walk, make it part of your workout. It gives you a chance to get the sky above you and just sort of clear your mind. Also, offer pet duty. Take the dogs for a walk. Play with the pets. Clean out the litter box. Feed the pets. It just pulls you out of the difficult people, makes you useful, and then you're dealing with the sweetness of animals. Also offer kid duty. Listen, a lot of family members would be grateful if somebody takes on the kids. And while the kids may not be a picnic, I can promise you they're probably going to be more easy than the difficult year-over-year toxic conversations you have with difficult family members. Pull out some board games, pull out some paper, do some crafts, get lost in the zen of it, hang out with the kids. Kids may be tough. No kid is as tough as a difficult narcissist. And again, this is the year of a very political, since the past many years, we've had very political holidays. People reporting themselves torn apart around holidays because people are talking about politics, and it's just not manageable. But politics aren't the only third-rail topic. In some families it may be, but other third-rail, difficult topics, as it were, are things like, when are you getting married? Asking you about your kids, money, past hurts, past disses, but things you know are the sensitive topics in your family. Every single year they come up. And sometimes people just feel compelled. It's as traditional as whatever family traditions you have, from Christmas trees to dreidels to you name it, that for some reason it seems like having that difficult conversation year over year over year comes up. Keep in mind too that at holiday get-togethers sometimes people do drink, and those loose lips sink ships, that when people are drinking, that they do sometimes say things that they may not ordinarily say in a way that's more cruel. And then when you combine the eating, the drinking, people being put together who aren't ordinarily put together, it can really be a recipe for the worst narcissistic patterns to come to the surface. Keep that in mind and don't take the bait on those topics. The holidays are meant to be a time, and they have been since time immemorial, have been a time of feasting, of sharing time together, of reflection. And it was often the long, dark winter, so it was a time to take refuge during the longest, darkest nights of the year, huddle in together, and have some loving moments. Sadly, toxic family dynamics can often take all of that joy out of the holidays. But by following some basic holiday hygiene tips, maintaining boundaries, having realistic expectations, radical acceptance about your family, using little hacks like using timers so you can just put in the time and then give yourself a well-earned break, taking walks and hanging out with the kids, preparing yourself, knowing that why would this year be any different? Make sure you get enough sleep. Prepare yourself for these prepare yourself for these difficult interactions. Bring a distractor like a book or a journal to write in, or knitting, or something that's a hobby, just to give yourself a moment to get away from it. But don't make it a stressful thing. Like, don't bring work or something if you can avoid that, because that might make it even worse. And then stay away from those difficult topics and don't take the bait. When they dangle those tough topics at you, you can always say, you know what? I'm not married this year. I'm doing fine, but thanks for asking. You may want to punch them in the face, but no one needs to be punched in the face during the holidays. Step away. Be graceful. Recognize that they're stuck in their own broken narcissistic loop of a record, but that you can evolve past this. That right there is the single best narcissistic gift you can give yourself. Happy holidays. Keep staying tuned in, and I wish you a happy holiday season.